Welcome to the Meria Show, the internet's original podcast. Since the year 2000, always ahead of the curve, always on your side. A true warrior for truth and justice, Meria and her guests leave nothing out, and no one is off limits. There is only one truth, the rest is lies. Sit back, enjoy the education with a true daughter of Mother Earth. Sharp New York wit, spiritual knowing, and a very dry sense of humor, Meria will dissect the news and lies to make it all palatable. Education is power. Meria delivers rapid-fire truth like no one else can. Here she is, the mouth that roars, the legendary Meria Heller.
Good morning, world. Meria here, alive and kicking. Welcome to Stars Are Us, your monthly astrology show. And like I say about politics, is the same thing I say about astrology. You may not believe in it, but it believes in you. With my co-host, Joe Anthony. If you're not familiar with Joe, get over to planetswithin.com. Check out his YouTube channel. Joe's everywhere. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Meria. Good morning.
How are you?
How's it going?
It's going
I'm
okay.
doing well, except for, I know we were talking about this off air, the feeling in the morning of this heavy weight that we can't seem to wake out of.
Yeah, I know. I felt it this morning. I saw a cute meme on Facebook of a coffee mug that said something to the effect of, good morning, every morning I wake up, and unfortunately Trump is still president.
Oh, boy.
You know?
Well, something's definitely going on here where it's changing our perspective. And maybe it's just me. I don't know. But I am slowly moving away from politics because I just don't think it's that relevant in my life right now. I'm not saying it's not important, but I'm just saying in my life it's just not as important as to what's going on behind the scenes, especially with the crazy weather we're having, these cosmic alignments that are occurring. And I think we got bigger fish to fry in towards the end of this year. And as far as the politics goes, I've been saying it a while, and I'm sure you have too. There's going to be massive changes to these institutions, whether it's a Democrat or a Republican. It doesn't really matter. Right. I think we're going to see some major changes by 2019, 2020, when Saturn is going through Capricorn, which represents government. So,
well, let's hope there are changes for the better.
Yeah.
Because unlike you, I have to follow the government and I have to follow politics. And I got to tell you, when I'm reading about his health care bill and looking at this religious discrimination bill, which of course is not law, neither one of them is law yet, even though they're all celebrating. It's really sickening, and I have friends, especially one who voted for Trump. He was a big Trump fan. And now I just gave him the bad news on what his health insurance is going to cost him. And he said, maybe I should just die sooner. That's what he said. Because he's got every pre-existing illness in the books. You know what I mean?
Oh, jeez.
But you know what? People voted for him out of ignorance. They didn't do their homework. They were expecting a Messiah. If this is the Messiah, then the Antichrist has arrived.
Well, the thing is, we've talked about this before. You can't put your faith in a president. Okay, I don't care how much rhetoric they want to spew. How much they want to change things. It's all talk.
Right.
The old saying in politics is watch what they do, not what they say. And this has been proven over and over again. But we know that the corporations run this country. They run the world pretty much. Mm-hmm. And so the president is just that, a puppet, a representative of these factions, these different factions that are vying for control. And so, if we want to make a difference, find out who that healthcare bill, who's sponsoring it, what insurance company is sponsoring that healthcare bill, and see who stands to make the most money out of it.
Exactly.
Because that's where the fault lies. This guy is just a pen pusher who is obviously doing whatever he has to do or whatever he's being told to do, and we already see that, just
right.
like the last clown before him. And so this is ongoing. This is, it's the same thing. I would say to people, don't get disheartened. He's just he's just, he's a puppet, and the strings are being pulled.
Right. Let's just hope his astrology's right and he drops dead soon. He
Great.
went into New York yesterday and it really broke his heart. Everything I'm reading is it broke his heart because New Yorkers were out protesting him and telling them they didn't want him there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
what did he expect from New Yorkers? We already know what a dirtbag he is.
Well, here's the thing, Maria. For the past, so many years, the frustration level for people has been going up. And I said this in front of audiences back in 2008, 2009. I talked about how people were going to lose their sense of reality, and the frustration, the disillusionment, everything was going to become a part of their lives. And what do we see? We see anger, we see bitterness, and it's directed towards the public officials, not just Trump, but other institutions like Monsanto, and rightly so. But I'm just saying, people are waking up and they're starting to vent towards things that they see on TV and on the internet and so on and so forth. So because once again, they're not sure what the hell is happening to them, so they have to get this frustration out somehow, some way.
Right. Well, right. I agree, but it's like, when does the maniacal energies, the frequencies driving everybody nuts, when do they change?
Yeah, well, that's a good one, because according to my calculations and some of the meditations I've done, this is not going away anytime soon. If it's accurate, we are going through the photon belt alignment, just as I said in my video on my website, World Events 2016. It's free. You can watch it. I talked about how we've entered this 2,000-year cycle of this photon sort of alley or channel or whatever you want to call it. And we're going to have this bumpy ride from time to time, where it is going to be like a month or two at a time, where the energy is so heavy, just like we've been feeling the last month or so, because the astrology compounded the energy that was already coming in.
Right.
And so we were all dragging. I know we talked about this off air.
Yeah, a lot of my friends that are right. A lot of my friends that are usually peppy and they're early risers and all that, they're exhausted and they don't understand. They think there's something wrong with them. They want to go to a doctor. And I'm like, pay attention to the astrology. We got 5 planets retrograding. What do you expect?
Right, exactly. But it really is this energy field that we seem to be going through. And no one's talking about it. Just these amateur astronomers on YouTube that I follow, they're the only ones measuring this stuff. They're saying, look at these charts. Why isn't anybody talking about this? You know? And so they're reading these spikes in the flares, the neutrons, the electron, all this stuff, the technical geeky stuff.
Right.
But I can't say that they're crazy because they're proving it.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what. When I checked the weather today, it's the first time I saw fire weather watch. That's what they're calling it. All the way through Saturday night, where we're supposed to have 40-mile-an-hour winds, and we never have weather like this in May.
Yes, exactly. But when you understand that the Earth's magnetic fields are shifting, and that these solar winds are picking up because we're going through these alleys, if you will, this is causing all of this shift in the energy field. And so, it's distorting the groundedness, the magnetic fields, all of it, and it's affecting us. There's really nothing that we could do to fight it. All we could do is rest, and then when the energy level comes up, go and do what you have to do, and, because that's what I found. I found that towards the middle of the day or towards the afternoon, there's an exhausting feeling for no apparent reason that just comes in.
Right.
Have you been experiencing that, Meria?
Yeah, but it finally let up about a week ago.
Exactly.
So I was yay. I feel like I'm alive again.
Right.
But when you talk about energy, I have to tell you, I interviewed Carl Kalaman about a week or so ago on his book, The 9 Waves of Creation. And I have to tell you, just like I told Carl, I said, what you're saying from the angle you're coming from fits in perfectly with astrology, with spiritual teachings from Michael Rekia, with your astrology. So it's an amazing thing to me. But like I always tell people, there's only one truth. If you can tap into it, you're going to have the same information.
Absolutely. And Maria, it's coming in very fast right now. If someone asks for information, and then during meditation, 10, 15, 20 minutes outside, quietly, and just ask, universe, higher consciousness, show me what's going on in the universe. Show me what this energy is. Because that's what I did a few years ago, Maria, and I got amazing dreams and visions of these waves of energy coming in. Mm-hmm. Okay, this is before I knew any of this stuff.
Right.
And so you'll be shown the same thing I was shown, and I don't want to sway anyone or,
right.
See what you get. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. To the listeners out there, try it. See what you got.
Right. Well, I could tell you a lot of people were blaming a lot of, gigantic mishaps on just Mercury being retrograde last month. But I try to explain to them, you need to listen to my astrology show because that wasn't the worst of it. And I heard stories worse than any Mercury retrograde before. You know what I mean? And sure. I'm sure everybody's happy that at least Mercury went direct this month.
Right. And last month we also had Venus retrograde, and she came out of retrograde. So we had those 5 planets that we talked about last month. And that is definitely, that has heavy energy when you have 5 planets and 2 of them on our inner planets, which means closest to the Earth, and they're holding us down from moving forward. And so, yes, this month definitely is going to feel a lot better because Mercury has come out of retrograde, but now it's going to begin to pick up speed. So it'll take about a week for it to pick up speed and then be back to where it originally started, about the 21st or so. And so things will definitely feel different the second half of this month, Maria, than the first half. It's like the momentum is picking up. We're in the car, we're hitting the throttle, and it's slowly moving forward. That's what's happening this month energetically.
Right. So when you look at May, it just in whole, does it look like it'll be better than last month?
Yes. The second half of the month will be much better. But we have some really nice alignments coming in right around the 9th, the 10th, and this has a lot to do with a positive alignment between the Sun and Pluto, which is called a trine. And this is a sort of like an aha moment or some sort of revelations or the ability to see things beyond the normal. It's a happy alignment, so this could be a powerful change that comes in, or we come to realize some sort of powerful change in our lives, which could be life-altering in a sense. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I would say keep an eye on that one. That's pretty big, and then of course I know we'll talk about this one. The alignment between Jupiter and Neptune. Now this one is a tricky one because it's called an inconjunct. And this is when the planets are 150 degrees apart from each other. And this alignment usually represents illusion, fantasy, over-optimistic, unrealistic expectations. But it involves Jupiter and Neptune. So I think what we're going to have here is sort of this feeling of a euphoric feeling or a happy feeling, a happy-go-lucky feeling, but maybe a bit of an unrealistic expectation with regards to our plans and our futures, our current lives and so on and so forth. So we have to really be careful about making major decisions during this period, this month.
Right.
But for the most part, I think the energy is going to feel a little bit better than last month.
Good. I know the sun is in Taurus this month. Does that mean everybody's going to start eating themselves to death?
Well, I've already done that starting at the beginning of the month. But, yes, Taurus is the basics. Food, shelter, physical contact, the simplistic things of life. And you need that. When the world gets chaotic and out of control, the only thing we can do is get back to the basics to sort of ground ourselves and center ourselves. So with Taurus, it's all about the physical, doing some gardening, going to the gym, connecting with those closest to you to make you feel safe and secure, checking the bank accounts to make sure, you have what you have in the bank to find stability and security. And yes, food, unfortunately, becomes a comfort. The sweets and things associated with enjoying or enjoyment. Look at the symbol of the bull. It sits out in the field all day long, pretty much grazing,
Right.
And that's exactly what Taurus represents, at its essence, at the fundamental level, is feeding, but it is a manifestation sign. Taurus energy is about manifesting in the physical world. So as I wrote in my newsletter, if you want to manifest this month, this is the month to do it. But you're going to have to take some action to go in that direction that you want to manifest what you need.
Well, that's the other part of it, because a lot of times when I'm, with a client and doing a read for somebody, they still believe that old film, The Secret, where all you have to do is wish for something and it's going to show up. And I tell people, no, everything in the universe is vibration. You've got to put some energy behind it. Nothing just happens by itself. I remember Sun Bear when he used to lecture. He said, that bumper sticker he said that says shit happens. He said sometimes even that doesn't happen on its own.
Mm-hmm.
So, and for whatever reason, it's just hard for a lot of people to understand that they've got to take action. Nothing is just going to happen. It's not going to fall from the sky.
Exactly. You have to have the desire, the idea, the concept, and of course the love. This energy we call love, or whatever vibration you want to call it, when you enjoy what you're doing and you want that to happen, you can envision it, you could go in that direction, you can make things happen. But the key that I found into manifesting is you put it out there with that love, you put it out there with that intention, but then you must let go of it.
Right.
In order for it to manifest, you have to detach from it. So the universe thinks you're not asking anymore. Okay, here it is. I'll bring it to you.
Well, the way I explain it to people is it's like, if you're a parent and your son or your daughter is constantly asking you for the same thing over and over and over again, after a while, you don't even hear it.
Right.
So if you really trust the universe and trust what you're asking, you should only need to ask for it once. Mm-hmm. And then just let it go. But that's the other lesson of Buddha, the lesson of detachment, which is very difficult for people to wrap their heads around.
Exactly, especially when the energy is very heavy and uncertain. So they tend to attach, oh, come on, please, you make this happen, oh, please. And you don't realize the vibration you're sending out when you're saying that, or your nervous system's been activated.
Right, or it's just coming from your nerves. Right.
Right, exactly. And so it's all nerves and emotions that really change the waves and change the what you seek and desire. But this month, trust me when I tell you, around the new moon, it's about manifestation, just like the last new moon was last month in Taurus. Is about manifestation. It's still in effect today. So if you folks want to manifest what you need, write it down on a piece of paper and go, universe, bring it to me.
All right.
And let it go.
And then walk away. Right.
Yes.
Now we're coming into a Sun-Pluto alignment. What does that mean?
Well, that's what I touched upon earlier. This is a time where there's tremendous power between the Sun and Pluto. These two represent very powerful forces in opposite directions. The Sun is the vibrant symbol for power and light and love and all that other stuff, while Pluto, on the other hand, represents a dramatic transformation on the deepest level, the destruction of things. Okay, so think of it as power. So when you've got the loving energy coupled with the power energy, there's a really good chance of manifesting or creating something significant or coming to some sort of deep realization. Just as I wrote in the newsletter, it could be a discovery. It could be a feeling, a hunch, the intuition may be going through the roof, anything to do with financial matters, or just some sort of creative idea that comes out of nowhere. And so this is a great time to pay attention to the dreams, the visions. Before you go to sleep at night, universe, higher consciousness, show me how to best utilize my talents. Bring me the opportunities to best utilize my talents. This is the things that we should be saying around these strong alignments, and you'll see what happens.
Right. Now, you also had mentioned to guard your head and brain when Uranus connects with Mercury in Aries. Do you mean that physically? Do you mean it physically to guard your head and brain?
Well, let me give you an example. In the past week, I've hit my head 3 times.
Oh.
Okay? And I mean, that's what I mean, because when we're talking Aries energy, Aries represents the head. Uranus represents accidents. And Mercury is the mind. And both of these planets are very closely aligned right now in Aries. So, I mean, I'm doing things, and like just this morning, I bend over to go look in a box. I go back up, and I hit the corner of one of my pictures on my head. And I was like, really? You've got to be freaking kidding me. You know?
So you knew, but you didn't pay attention.
Exactly. But that's the kind of energy, or something drops and falls on your head. But that's what I'm talking about. Guard your head against, things falling on it, or having sudden revelations, or, just not paying attention to what you're doing because your mind is out there, busy on 20 different things, because that's what I've been doing, is focusing on so many different things that I try to stay centered, but I got so much to do, and these little incidences happen.
Well, I understand. Sometimes you're just not in the present moment and you trip all over yourself.
Exactly.
Right. Okay, so we got that part going. Now you talk about exciting news of transiting nodes, which changes signs to Leo Aquarius polarity.
Yes, we astrologers are a little bit excited about this one because, once again, the North Node and the South Node are configurations that astrologers have come up with years ago, where when the moon crosses the ecliptic, that access point is called a node. Okay, it's like I don't know how to quite explain it, but it's that it shows you the direction. The North Node represents the direction or the path that you must take in order to find fulfillment. And the South Node is what the past represents. So the astrologers that created this system of understanding understood that the moon represented doorways, because that's everything is dimensions.
Right.
So the moon is because it moves so quickly also. The moon's nodes shift about every year and a half to 2 years. And so they've been in Virgo the last year and a half, and we have basically been analyzing every aspect of our lives, trying to perfect our eating, our daily, responsibilities, our work, everything that Virgo represents. Mm-hmm. But when these nodes go into the Leo Aquarius axis or polarity, the North Node is going to be in Leo and the South Node in Aquarius. So what this means is we are going to be striving for things that make us happier, things that bring us more joy in our lives, things that are more creative in our lives. And as I wrote in the newsletter, there will be a lot of bliss. There will be moments of euphoria or bliss or happiness that we are going to enjoy. Now, I already have that, and I'm sure you have it too, Meria, and the listeners as well, where we have these moments that we feel happy for no apparent reason.
Right. That happens to me, and I actually say that to people. I'm happy for no real reason.
Right. And that is when the waves of energy are coming in, I believe, and, they're not as severe. So that positive energy coming from the galactic center is actually getting through. But when the North Node is in Leo, we are striving for more happiness. We are striving for more creativity. We are striving for more fun in our lives. Everything that Leo represents. And so this just happened at the end of April, and it's going to start taking hold in May. So if you're a Leo rising, Leo moon, something very dominant in Leo in your chart, or wherever Leo happens to fall in your chart, that's the area that's going to have this focused energy. Mm-hmm. So I would suggest finding out, obviously, where the Leo lies in your chart so that you can understand that is going to be your focus point in the next year and a half, and how you could help yourself out by, focusing your attention in that area. But it is a positive. We see this as a positive thing that the North Node is going to be in Leo. Mm-hmm. And so I think we'll find a lot of creative ways to figure things out, to make things happen. And then I see that in the young kids, these young kids under 25. They are so creative musically, artistic, They just have different ways of looking at the world. And I think that's the kind of creativity we're going to continue to see flourish in the next year and a half, even though the world will continue to change.
Right. Well, it all looks pretty good. I mean, certainly sounds a whole lot better than last month. But we also have to, I remember you said we have to grow, expand, and take risk. And we live in a climate where people are afraid to take risk. I mean, one of my friends did the most ballsiest thing I've ever seen him do by handing in his resignation on his job today. And that's a huge risk for him because it's not like he has another job, but he just has had enough.
That's right.
So that's kind of gutsy. So I guess this is a month for courage too, because you got Leo strong this month, and Leo is the lion. And everybody, knows, the lion's got courage if they ever watch The Wizard of Oz. It looks like it's a time not to be afraid. There's so much fear out there that it's almost contagious.
Absolutely. And that's the other aspect of the North Node in Leo. You're correct, is that it will bring out more of a courageous, take a chance, take a risk, and making things happen. Now, the beauty of this life, and I know in my, so many years on this planet, I've realized that things happen when you least expect them and when you need them to. And for instance, one leaving a job, something else will show up because the consciousness is there to change and bring forth some different experiences. And Leo is big on that. Okay, the Leo energy is very brave on that. And so, yes, we're going to be taking more risks. We're going to be taking more chances. Now, getting back to, I'm reminded of that old saying by Joseph Campbell, follow your bliss.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
But the other thing is and this really gets me, I've talked to some people last week, I remember talking, and they were talking about commercials on TV or watching something on Yahoo News or MSN News or some crap like that. And it was all about politics and what was going on here and there. And I just turned to them. I said, stop listening to that. You're being programmed. You're being conditioned to think in fear, And I said, don't listen to that stuff because, as you know, and your listeners know, most of what you see on TV and now the internet, on major sites that I don't even want to mention, but they are conditioning us to keep us in fear mode.
Right.
And so we have to start being more courageous and finding creative solutions to our own lives. We cannot rely on governments. We cannot rely on these criminal organizations that run everything. And so rely on your family members. Rely on the ones closest to you. Do something that you've always wanted to do and you weren't sure about. This Leo energy is going to inspire us, especially in August when the solar eclipse, the second solar eclipse, is going to be in Leo. So.
Now, Mercury is entering Taurus on the 15th. Obviously, I would think that that's a really good thing if you happen to be a Taurus.
Yeah, it is. Once again, it's going to slow our minds down a bit, and it basically says, hey, focus on the simple things. Slow down, relax, enjoy yourself. And that's what Mercury in Taurus. Unfortunately, it's not going to last for very long because it's only 3 weeks. But it's a time where you get back to the basics, just like the Taurus sun. You move at a more leisurely pace. You feel a need for more stability. All of that stuff that comes into play. Being more realistic, all of it. Everything that Taurus represents, it just amplifies that energy even more. But I don't think that's going to last too long because a few days later there's all kinds of alignments coming in, Meria. So that we're going to need that Taurus energy to bring in some stability.
Right. Well, as soon as that happens, though, you're looking at the 20th when the sun enters Gemini.
Right. And before that, on the 19th, we have a Venus opposing Jupiter alignment, which is really all about overindulgence, having more fun, spending money, excess, because both of these planets are about, just enjoying themselves. Venus loves spending money on clothes and looking good and fancy meals. And Jupiter's like, let's do it. Let's go for that ride. But don't worry about the credit cards. We'll pay them whatever.
Right.
and so there's an overindulgence. But with the Mercury in Taurus, there's a good chance that we'll go, hey, yeah, let's go travel, but we are not going to go, 6,000 miles. Let's just go 2,000 miles. And as far as Venus goes, we're able to rein that in a little bit, where instead of spending $400 on a meal with a group of people, maybe you'll just spend $100 with just two people. It'll be this more conservative mindset. But yes, when the sun enters Gemini, we turn up the heat on conversation, ideas, concepts, anything to do with communication gets highlighted. It goes sky high. And so the energy between Taurus and Gemini around that time frame indicates high levels of energy. So this is when we may start feeling more chaotic. Now, Maria, I got to ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you noticed on certain days when the energy level is high, the nervous energy and the overall energy is just insanely static? Have you noticed that?
What do you mean by static? Where you just feel like
just
staying
like
in
everything's
place?
coming at you all at once. It's nonstop for 30 to 40 minutes to an hour at a time.
Oh, well, yeah, I have noticed that. Actually, it's a good little natural product people can take. Here we go with an ad. And I don't get paid for saying this. It's called Formula 303. You can get it at Amazon. All it is valerian root, but it surely helps to calm you down when you're, your muscles are tightening, your nerves are shot. And there's really nothing in it that can hurt you. And I do recall having to pop a few the other day. But when I get in bed at night, what I do is I review my day. Mm-hmm. And last night and the night before, as I started reviewing all the things I did, I couldn't believe I did all those things in one day.
Right.
So if that's what you mean, yeah, I feel like I'm on hyperspeed now.
Exactly, and that's what I'm talking about as well. Because I've noticed that throughout the month, and mixed in with that crazy heavy energy, we've also had these bursts of energy, and they just spike up for no apparent reason, and everything just comes all at once. And I'm not kidding you. I'm receiving like 3 phone calls, one right after the other, for no apparent reason. I was like, what the hell is going on? And I sit there and I laugh about it because I, kind of have an idea of what's happening here.
Right.
And so it tends to happen more with that Gemini-Taurus energy, or that transition between Taurus and Gemini. So we may see more of that energy, is what I'm suggesting, towards the end of, after the 15th through like the 25th. The energy level may be running that kind of, staticky, uncertain, but yet chaotic at the same time.
Right. Joe, we're going to take a short break. Stay with us. Joe and I will be right back. We got lots more about this month, so stay with us. Hi, this is Maria Heller. If you're enjoying this show, please consider listening to the rest of it, along with hundreds of other hours of education, by a small subscription on my site. Get over to meria.net, meria.net. You are the only thing that supports this show. There's no corporate control, and there's plenty of education on site. So please consider either a subscription or a donation to keep the work going. There are too many alternative voices out there that are being silenced because of lack of support. So if you don't want MSM to be the only mind-controlling news out there, please consider supporting the people that support you. And help us all save something for the future for our children. Thank you so much.